Today, I wanted to talk about the issue of the honoring of foreign heroes in Kenya. When you travel around Kenya, you'll see many statues dedicated to foreigners or to Africans who served foreign interests. All over the country, you'll see very few statues of Africans getting honored using a statue. Now, I wanted to focus particularly on the statue and the honoring of Gandhi, specifically at the University of Nairobi. When you go to University of Nairobi, you'll discover that they have a statue dedicated to Gandhi, and you'll also discover that they have a wing of the university called Gandhi Wing, whereby they honor Gandhi by naming the entire wing after him. Now, I wanted to, look at the psychology of Africans in Kenya and their need to honor the people who hate them the most. And now some people argue and say, oh, this is the result of ignorance. People don't know that Gandhi deeply hated Africans. But wait, this is a university. You mean to tell me the Faculty of History doesn't know the history of Gandhi? No, if they don't know the history of Gandhi, it means they're completely incompetent. Isn't it? But they do know the history of Gandhi. They do know that Gandhi hated us more than anything. But that doesn't stop them from honoring him. Now let us examine why. Why is it that Africans, specifically African men, are obsessed about honoring other men of other races who despise them? How do you explain that? Because personally, I don't know how to explain it. So I would like for the University of Nairobi itself, the Africans who run that university, to give me a logical explanation. What is it about you that makes you, as a grown man, want to honor a foreign man who despises you? Something has to be wrong, because if you go to India, you will not find them honoring any African at all, especially an African who hated Indians, if you can find one. So how do you explain the reverse of that? I struggle sometimes to understand slaves, because we know that Kenya is a slave culture, and in every slave culture, it is the master who is honored. It is the master who's given sympathy. It is the master who's given love. It is the master who's given adoration. It is the master who's given all empathy. And it is also the master who is worshipped. So in the case of Kenya, the slave master, the colonial master, is also God, doubles up as God. So that when you go to a church in Kenya, you'll find images of the master, who's the Mzungu, being worshipped as God. So the Mzungu plays two roles. He plays both the role of the devil and the role of God. Isn't it? He's the one who attacks you and kills you, and he's also God. Now, those who are underneath the Mzungu, which is supposed to be Indians and Arabs, people like that, also get to share in his divinity. So that in the University of Nairobi, there's a statue and a wing named after Gandhi, who despised Africans openly, never hid it. And at the same time, you'll notice when you go to the University of Nairobi, or any other university in Kenya for that matter, you'll notice that they don't have a wing dedicated to Ivan van Sertima. You'll notice they don't have a statue of Theophila Obenga. You'll notice that they don't have a wing or a statue for the great Cheikh Anta Diop. Can you imagine? They don't honor Cheikh Anta Diop. Imagine the outrage of that. Like, that is the most shameful thing ever. And to me, that ranks even worse than honoring Gandhi. That they completely ignore Cheikh Anta Diop and Ivan van Sertima. Like, these are the most important African or black or Pan-African scholars in the last century. And they completely Ignore him. They don't even teach their works in university in Kenya. Why? Because in slave society, the slave never honors other slaves. Never. Because all honor must go to who? The master. All credit must go to who? The master. All admiration, adoration, worship, everything goes to the master. And the master in this case, in the case of Kenya, is the Mzungu. And so Kenyans, African men in Kenya, never honor other African men, ever. And so, following that tradition, the universities of Kenya, and the University of Nairobi in particular, would never honor African scholars like Anta Diop, Van Satima, and Obenga. Never. But honor goes to who? To Gandhi. Now let us look at some of the things that Gandhi said about Africans. And let me tell you, every single year, the University of Nairobi has a Gandhi Memorial Day, a special day where they honor Gandhi. I want you to think that this is something that is being organized by African men, so that you can understand how hopeless the situation is for Africa. How the strongholds of being a mental slave are strong in Kenya. Very strong. So let's look at some of the things that Gandhi said about Africans. So in 1909, this is what Gandhi wrote. Amongst other things, I have, though resolved in my mind, on an agitation to ensure that Indian prisoners are not lodged with Kafirs or others. Now, a Kafir, just so you know, is an African, is a derogatory term for African. It's like the way your Mzungu God calls you a nigger. It's the same thing, okay? The other thing he said was, there's an urgent need to separate lavatories for Indians. I also told him that Indian prisoners should never be lodged with Kafirs. And then he also said, first, why should we bear such hardships, submit ourselves, for instance, to the restrictions of prison life, wear rough and ugly dress, eat food which is bad, starve ourselves, and suffer being kicked by the warder, and live among the Kafirs? It is better to die than to live amongst the Kafirs. He continues to say, we were locked up with the Kafirs. There was not a single European officer who described us as Indians. We do not get their food that we were used to, and we are classified with the Kafirs. He also continues, many of the natives are only 1 degree removed from the animal. Kafirs are, as a rule, uncivilized. They are troublesome, very dirty, live almost like animals. So, you can easily imagine the plight of the poor Indian thrown into such company. Now, this is the worthless person being honored by the Ministry of Education, by the government of Kenya, by the University of Nairobi, with a statue and an entire wing named after him. Explain that to me. What could be wrong with the African men who run the University of Nairobi? Something has to be wrong. I always say, when you're dealing with brainwashed Africans, you need to understand that you're dealing with someone who's out of his mind, someone who's actually mentally insane. How do you justify honoring such a person? How do you end up honoring your worst enemy? Putting on a pedestal your very worst enemy. In case you didn't know, the Dalits of India hate Gandhi because he was their enemy, because he was part of the caste system. But in Kenya, the Kafir is building a statue to the Indian. You know, some things are, you don't even know what to say. That's how pathetic the elite of Kenya is. This is just pathetic, and it's disgusting, and it's very offensive. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Kenya's time has come. Our time has come. Your time has come. A time to succeed and not fail. A time to grow wealth and not poverty. A time to go up and not down. It's time for you to stop walking and drive your car. Stop renting and buy yourself a house. It's your time to get blessed. Join the CCV movement, and together let us kick poverty and unemployment out of Kenya. Become a member today. Donate what you can. And remember that the CCV is the only political organization in Kenya that is squarely built upon Christian values, unlike the rest. We'll see you next time. Thank you.